Alexander Usyk goes through hell to beat Anthony Joshua over a split decision. Now in this fight, Joshua came in heavier, but to me he looked from that first round. He looked sharper, he looked faster, he looked more intimidating. Um, this the speed, the footwork, everything was just like an all round better version of the last fight. He the shots were bouncing off his chin. I know he had a bit of a slow start, which was a little bit disappointing. But when AJ got in there, he was crunching Usyk to the body, um, not letting him off the hook, and he was putting hurt on Usyk, and a couple of times in there, I think he was hurt, and he was moving around that ring like a ballet dancer at some points. Um, but yeah, like AJ said at the end, he's an 18 stone man. He's not a 14 stone Rocky Marciano, so he couldn't throw more. But at the end of the day, that's what's needed. That's what he had to do to beat Alexander Usyk. He had to cut the ring off more. He had to throw more shots, but he just couldn't do it. And I just think, you know, Usyk, like he said, he was ready to go through hell, and he went through it. And those championship rounds, he put the foot down. I think it was after the ninth when I think AJ must have won the ninth, and he was putting a lot of heat and energy into um, Usyk. He came back the next round and he looked a little bit tired, a bit sluggish, a bit slow, and Alexander Usyk just went, man, that I took a bit of a beating in that last round, but I'm going to put the hurt on. I'm going to up the tempo tenfold, and he just ran away with the fight. Um, I didn't actually score the fight, but just watching it, I had a couple of closest rounds, but for me, I wouldn't have had AJ winning more than 3 rounds. But I'll need to have another look at that. And yeah, um, he, I was really impressed with what I saw from AJ in terms of his character. Even though he had a bit of a hissy fit at the end, he told you, like, I've got character, I'm strong, how did you beat me? And that, to me, that was just his raw emotions coming out. You know, everyone's saying we want to see this intense, mean Joshua, but then he gets ridiculed afterwards, and a couple of things he said was like a bit silly, like putting dropping the belts, and talking about going to jail and all this sort of like bit silly, but that's just how it is. He's obviously a little bit embarrassed about that. You know, and the at the hissy fit, he was saying also, yeah, I'm an 18 stone man. I can't do what Rocky Marciano does, and 100%. And I seen another clip going about of him going back to the locker room, and I don't know who it was, but he said, "Keep it professional." And AJ turned around and he was like, "Who the f are you talking to?" Blah blah blah. And I get that as well. That kind of comment would push me over the edge as well. And everyone said they want to see a mean Joshua. Yeah, they get that's what they're getting the mean Joshua. Yeah, and I like what I see. I like that side of him. I don't want to see this meek, bland, guy that just talks about stay humble and all this rubbish. Um, and Eddie Hearn was, he was given credit where credit's due at the presser after. He was saying, look, AJ, went through the Olympics, and he rose to stardom. He brought everybody up, including Tyson Fury. Put him, brought everybody up, and it put British boxing on the map. He was pushed very fast through his career, and for me, that means he didn't have all the learning fights. And like Eddie Hearn said, he didn't fight Cephas Safaris and Tom Schwartz's and all that kind of stuff. And like he said, since the Dillian White fight in 2015, fought him at O2, and then beat Charles Martin at the O2, Dominic Brazil at the O2, Eric Molina at Manchester Arena, Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley, Carlos Takam at the Principality Stadium, Povetkin at Wembley, Andy Ruiz at the Madison Square Gardens, Andy Ruiz in Riyadh, Pulev at Wembley, Usyk at Tottenham Hotspur, and then Usyk in Jeddah. I mean, that is, to me, that's a decent resume. Um, and looking at it objectively, you know, when people like Tyson Fury come in and say, like, oh, all due respect to Tyson Fury, but when he comes in and says that was the worst heavyweight title fight I've ever seen, and it'll be very expensive, but I'll beat Usyk. I want to see the Tyson Fury Usyk fight, but I don't. He can't price himself out of the market. But I do want to see that fight. I think it'll be a very intriguing fight. Again, another 50-50, in my opinion. But when he's coming out with these things, it's like, well, let's be honest. Fury beat Klitschko. Before that, he beat nobody. He beat Klitschko. Yeah, disappeared. Came back and he's beaten. He drew with Wilder, beat Wilder, had one title defense against Wilder and a title defense against Dillian White. So it's not exactly it's not like he's cemented his legacy. It's just this narrative that's pushed by a lot of people. But yeah, and I was listening to Usyk. Usyk in the 8th round, he was saying he was saying he saw in AJ's eyes that his, that he looked like looked and felt like he was victorious, and Usyk was saying to himself, you can't stop, you cannot stop, you got to keep going, and that's a warrior mindset, because even when you're in training and stuff like that, you're always wanting to stop, man. Um, but yeah, people don't understand. Um, but for me, I think it'd be a great shame if you know I haven't really spoken much about Usyk. I'm just thinking about that, but you know, Uzyk's gonna be he's gonna go down as a great, probably. I'd like to see him fight Tyson Fury next, and then I'd like to see him fight some of the other guys, and keep going as long as he feels like he can. Um, and then AJ, on the other hand, I think obviously Usyk's free to go and do what he wants and fight who he wants with the belts now or whatever, or fight his mandatories, and leave Joshua behind. But for me, what Joshua needs, he just needs to get back in the ring, just keep active. I'd like to see him fight again this year. Get him against a Dillian White or a Hrgovic or a Zhang or something like that, and just step it down a little bit and build it up. Get some more learning in there while you're eyeing other people, and then maybe I'd like to see him fight like a Wilder, Hellenius, and then challenge back for a world title. Get in there against the Dubois and some of these other guys, and build himself back up. I think it'd be a shame if he left the sport, and he's definitely got a lot more to give. And yeah, what a cracking fight! Like I said, I think it'll go down as a classic. Um, I like the mean side, and big up to Usyk. He went through hell, but he got the job done. Thank you guys for listening. Remember, comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know your thoughts about what went on, and how you viewed the fight, etc. Be very interested to hear. Cheers, guys. Catch you soon.